Hi, given we're talking to project managers amongst others, we thought we better start on time. Welcome to this webinar about a unique range of master degrees from Charles Sturt University. And the reason they are unique is their level of integration of industry content and industry certifications. So one of our catch cries for it is university or industry, why don't you have both in the one? You're probably wondering why there's a picture of wine on the right-hand side. It's just because I love wine. No, it's not totally the reason. Charles Sturt University is world famous for their study of wine science. People come from all over the world to study for their Bachelor of Wine Science. And so we thought, just to keep you interested and stop you nodding off during this presentation, we're going to give that wine pack away, and that's their what's called their boutique range from Charles Sturt University, to the person that asks either the most challenging or interesting question during the webinar. And the way you can do that is up on your Q&A. You just type in your questions, and we've got two people. We've got Holly and Neil answering questions. So anyway, in this one, we're going to cover three of the masters: the MBA Computing, the Master of Project Management, and the Master of Management Information Technology. Except my, it's not working. Sorry, we're having a bit of a technical issue here. Murphy's Law. Bit of housekeeping. As I mentioned, if you want to ask a question, put it in the Q&A box. You can do that right throughout. And any questions we don't get to during the meeting, we'll answer after the meeting, or if it's too complicated, we've got to go away and look up, we can email you afterwards. And question everyone's asking, yes, you will receive an email recording of today's presentation a day or so after. Once we've just compiled it, we'll send it out to you. Introduction, my name's Martin Hale. I'm CEO of IT Masters, and I'm also an adjunct senior lecturer at Charles Sturt University. I'm the one in the left there, the not so handsome one in the suit. Other people in the picture, that's Dr. Irfan Altes. He gets to wear that lovely floppy hat because he is a doctor. He's head of computing and mathematics at Charles Sturt University. And the chap in the middle is the first ever graduate we had from these program, a chap called Scott Anderson. Agenda, been running these for several years now. Got a pretty good idea of what people are interested in. We've added and swapped this based on feedback. So I think you'll find we cover most of the things you're interested in. But as I said, you're free to ask questions on the way through. And I hear Holly typing furiously there, so someone's obviously started. A target audience for these, well, Master of Project Management, obviously pretty clear. People who want to be project managers, or project managers who want to formalise their learning a bit. Most common, a lot of people working in project teams who want to move into project management, or they've just already moved into it and would like to round out their knowledge. And then we've got two masters ones. What's the difference? Well, the MBA Computing is typically for someone moving in or in a senior management executive type role. And the Master of Management Information Technology is for supervisors, line manager type people. You'll see the difference there. MBA Computing is all about management and some project management materials, whereas the Master of Management Information Technology also has technology electives in it. That was based on my feedback a lot from the industry. You see people move into line management, you know, very talented, a lot more talented than me, technology people would move into line management, and they were disappointed that they weren't keeping their technical skills up to date, or they'd like to continue to delve into different technical areas. So as you'll see, you get the option to do that in that Masters. The course structure for all three Masters is the same. There's a total of 12 subjects. We call them subjects at Charles Sturt. The different unis call them different things. 6 of them are university subjects. Most of them, they're core type management subjects that Charles Sturt runs to their vast online audience that they have. And the second part is what makes these unique. The other 6 we call industry certification or industry-based subjects. And why are they that? Well, there's 2 reasons. Firstly, they're, wherever possible, based around industry certifications. For instance, in project management, the most famous industry certification is the project management professional from the Program Management Institute. Well, we have a subject based around that if you haven't already got it, will help you prepare for that certification. By the way, if you have already got it, you would get credit for it. And the second part that's unique about those subjects is they are delivered by industry professionals. So there's people who are working in the industry during the day, like you would be, and then they come home at night and they're not studying like you are, they're actually at home delivering subjects to you. These days, that is almost all alumni. We could say over 7,000 alumni that have gone through these programs, a lot of them in senior positions, and I don't know how they get the time, but they put their hand up and say, yep, I'm happy to come back and run a subject or help develop a subject and then run it. We don't have semesters, we have, because there's 3 of them, so they're called sessions. We have 3 sessions per year. And the recommended load for working full-time professionals is 2 subjects per session. If you do the math, that's the first question you've got to, first hurdle you've got to come to get in. How long should it take you? It should take you 2 years to complete it if you, depending on how much credit you've got and how quickly you study, but that's the average overall. When we look across all of the graduates, it's about 2.5. So obviously people take a break at different times on average. We've had people, including that chap, the first graduate in that picture, he finished in a year because he got lots of credit and he studied furiously. Okay, let's have a quick look at the 3 masters. MBA computing. As with all the masters, you've got a group of core and then you've got 2 pools of electives subjects. The core subjects are obviously core and you don't have any choice. You have to do these subjects. It's been decided that it is important enough that you must do them. I mean, an interesting one there, just something a bit different than you don't see a lot of MBAs, is MGI 521, Professional Communications. That is about best practice in both written and verbal communications. So many of the graduates tell me how valuable that has been to them at the end. You actually practice presentations on the way through and mark them and as I said, built around what is best practice in terms of getting your message across to people. And then you've got 2 pools of electives. One is academic. They're not academic, totally academic, they're just delivered from within the university. So these will typically be CSU researchers who are experts in their field and who also teach in things like, lo and behold, toxic leadership. I'm not sure, hopefully that they wouldn't pick up much about that at CSU, but they certainly have studied it and researched in toxic leadership. That's a general thing. And then you've got your group B in this one, which is industry-based subjects. Bit of a mix there, but you can, they are generally industry-based subjects. They're delivered by people within the industry. Master of Project Management, been very popular. This launched in about 2007, 2006. So I must admit, the first couple of intakes, I wondered whether we'd done the right thing. They weren't huge. And then we got some help from the Project Management Institute who type of helped us to relaunch, and it's been fantastic ever since. The Project Management Institute like it because we actually have subjects on based around their certification and what's called the PMBOK, the core body of knowledge for project managers. Again, you've got your core and then you've got your 2 groups of electives and it should add up to 12. So we've got 2, 2 and 8. Yep. We'll have a look at a couple of these subjects as we go through. But the industry-based ones, all of those, I'm just looking down, every single one of them, except for MGI 531, Project Recovery, are based around industry certification. One of the advantages of doing that for you is that we have to be right up to date with what we're delivering. If we tried to say we're helping you prepare for the PMP certification and we weren't covering PIMBOK 6 or 7, I think it's just come out.
6 is the new one?
6. We're covering 5 instead. You're going to get pretty upset because you're going to wander into the certification exam and be out of date. So it keeps us honest, so to speak, and keeps us making sure our material's right up to date. Okay, let's have a look at the final one, which is quite different. But very popular. As I remember, I said it's for like line management. It's not to say a senior IT manager couldn't do it, and we have had them, but it's more of a line manager who's still possibly got a hands-on role in technology, but is certainly had a hands-on role in managing technical staff. Okay, we've got our core. We've seen that before. That's fine. And we've got Group A, academic subjects. That's fine. We picked 2 subjects from that, and we've got to do the core. What is different is we have a group of specializations. And I haven't listed the subjects because we'd need many screens. What you do there is we grab from the other masters, for instance, our cybersecurity masters, and if you do 4 of the subjects from the pool, you get to graduate with a Master of Management IT specialised in cybersecurity or networking or project management or cloud computing. You can pick any of those and there'd be a pool of subjects for you to pick from, and they'll all be on topic about that area. You don't have to do that. You can mix and match right across if you want to. We have people do that, but you wouldn't end up with a specialisation. Again, very popular at Masters. Have a look at a few subjects just to give you a feel. Project Management Fundamentals, MGI 511, sorry, MGI 511, that's the university code for it. It prepares you for the PMI certification. There's a lower level one, Certified Associate Project Manager, and a higher level one, PMP. Well, the content is the same, though just at different levels. So approximately the first half of the subject, we cover that and the core body of knowledge from PMI. And we even have multi-choice exams to practice, which are part of your assessment. In case you want to go off and sit those certifications, and especially in project management, I strongly suggest you do. They're highly regarded, the PMP especially. But because we've got you for a whole session or semester, you know, it's not just a 5-day course. This is a whole 14-week. We can take you quite a bit further than that, and we do. And the way we do that is, let's have a look at the learning objectives. Have a look at number 2 there. Be able to develop and critically analyse the components of a master project plan, project management plan. Now, that is pretty hard in a multi-choice industry certification exam to critically analyse, show that you can critically analyse a project plan. But we can do it because it's part of your assessment. And that's an example. I think it's the best of both worlds, in my opinion. As I said, the first half is all about this is the certification, this is what underpins it, and then use all that theory that you've learnt. Let's put it into practice and show that you can actually use it in a real world situation. And it's pretty typical of the industry-based exams that we do. I mentioned there's the assessment from it. There's an early assessment, multi-choice, bit like the PMI exams, not the same obviously, but similar to, it's only worth 15%. And then you do a meaty assignment, looking at the PMBOK, Project Management Core Body of Knowledge, and have a look at 2 processes that appear to have failed and analyse them. And then finally, we do have exams still. The good news here, though, we've just moved to e-exams. They used to be paper-based, which was pretty hard on particularly project managers, for instance. As one said to me, he said, I haven't written for 2 hours with a pen in probably 20 years. And his arm was quite sore. And he said, God help anyone trying to read what I wrote. We moved away from that. And these are now sit-at-home exams, remotely proctored. So webcam, they just observe you to make sure you're not doing anything naughty. And you've got to time them out to actually do the exams. they're currently just a transposition of what we used to do in the paper-based exams, but all sorts of exciting things coming there in terms of what we're able to do with computer-based exams. Just a technical subject, I grabbed, I said there's a whole huge pool of these in the Master of Management IT, but here's ITC 593 Network Security. And as you'd imagine, pretty technical. You know, I don't even know what number 2 means. Description of a message encrypted with a symmetric cipher. Well, good luck with that. But that's part of as you can imagine, the assessment. And here's an interesting one. Just will be run for the first time this year. We all know projects never fail. I mean, they're all perfect, and I'm not even sure why we need project managers. I mean, they won't. Well, not quite the case. I actually, when it's in Telstra, I sat on the project evaluation executive committee there, and wow, I'm not sure any of them. It's pretty depressing after a while. So we decided to bring in a subject, and I've never heard of any other uni doing this, and there was nothing certification based in it either, but it's an industry-based subject on, we're really looking at best practice in project recovery here. It's gone off the rails. Firstly, how do you assess that it has gone off the rails, apart from everyone screaming? And what the hell can you do about it to pull it back on? Fascinating subject. We'll be running a short course on that, and the subject, as I said, running this year. Okay, just a bit of background. CSU and IT Masters partnership. Before 2002, industry certs like PMP and the technical ones were separate from uni. You know, I used to get a lot of people ask me, what's the most important? Should I get my PMP certification or my COBIT risk management, or should I go off and get my uni degree? And I'd always say to them, well, no, you need experience first. That's the first thing they look at, which is the hardest thing to come by. But after that, it depends. It depends who's doing the interviewing, and you know, if it's HR that are shortlisting for an executive role, well, you better have a degree there, because that's often on their tick list. If it's a person who's actually the program manager who wants to know how good a project manager you're going to be, well, I'd suggest you get PMP on your certification. So we thought, well, we're not sure which. Why not give them both? And in 2002, we launched the first of them. And now there's 8 different masters that incorporate industry certification. And that's, again, what is unique about these. The latest and greatest in industry certs, the most popular of them in the industry. Prince 2, Project Management Professional, COBIT Risk Management, ISO 20000 in terms of quality service management, those type of certifications. Was IT Masters? Well, we market, that's what I'm doing now, which I enjoy, but I enjoy the second much more. This is research and identified for opportunities for further expansion. And a good example of that is that project recovery subject. We got feedback from our alumni, particularly. There was a need for this, and I originally said, well, I don't even know of anyone in that area or doing that type of area. There's certainly nothing, very little in the industry structure-wise, but we went out to our huge alumni and people came back with all sorts of suggestions. So we put together an advisory committee and we built the subject this year. And we support the students studying their industry cert. So while you still use the CSU systems, we employ the industry-based, we call them mentors. These are working professionals who somehow find the time to run industry-based subjects at night. So they run their lectures for you and their tutorials. They're sitting at their house and you're sitting at your house going through the subject together. Why might you study online at Charles Sturt University, or why might you study online? Well, in a lot of cases, people are just too busy to go to a classroom, they've got to travel. And if you're going to do online, well, I'd have a look at who are the big players, and Charles Sturt dominate the field in online education in Australia. First online qualification, which was paper, not online, first remote qualification, which was totally paper-based, we did just 50 years ago, just over 50 years ago. So lots of experience, and our bread and butter is online. All our platforms are built around that, and I think it just shows in the number of people that come to us to study online. And if you're doing IT project management, IT management, we dominate in that field as well in the postgraduate area. These are working, they're not overseas students studying for residency, they're not bachelor students looking for a job. These are all working professionals who are studying generally at night and working during the day. What's the study load look like? Well, depends on your experience level. If you've got lots of a management experience and you do one of the initial management subjects, you're not going to have to put anywhere near the amount of work into it. Except maybe if you want to go for high distinction, you might put more in there. But if you don't have a lot of experience, the guide is 6 to 12 hours per subject per week. As we talked about, the recommended load is 2 subjects per week, and you're probably going, oh my God, 24 hours, how am I going to find 24 hours in the week? Well, it's generally not that because you all got some level of experience, so that will cut down on it. Look, typically 10, 12, 18 hours a week, just talking to graduates. A lot of them get into a routine of a couple of nights a week and occasional day on the weekends or half day every weekend. They do say that more of a routine you can get into, the better it is. It's amazing. You see them in graduation, they say, well, what am I going to study next? Because they're well and truly into the routine by then, used to it, and it's become part of their lives. But we do realise you have a life, and it's one of the reasons, again, CSU dominate online distance education, because they're flexible. And if you need to drop back to one subject or, oh my God, this project's just run off the rails, I need to take a whole session off to get it back or get my life back on track. Just email and tell us that, hey, it's all getting a bit much. And we won't put you through, you don't write a business case. So as long as you do it before 4 weeks into the session, you can pull out of the subject, or preferably before even the subject starts. And if you do pull out up to what's called census date, 4 weeks in, you just keep your books. And when it comes around again, you take up the study again. Fees, $32.50 per subject. Up to 12 subjects, depending on credit, and I'll talk about credit in a minute. That money is due at the beginning of each study session. Providing it's relevant to your career, it is tax deductible. We had a number of people come back and say their tax accountants told them it isn't. Well, the tax accountants are wrong. They got confused with undergraduate HECS-based funding. This is definitely tax deductible if it's relevant. You're trying to move up in the IT world from supervisory to exec management. You try to move out of a project team into project or program management. It's definitely tax deductible. Includes everything that's required. And I mentioned before, don't forget census up to 4 weeks to pull out. I mean, I would love that in some of the commercial courses I've been on. You go on a 5-day course and end of the first day you go, this is definitely not, I've picked the wrong course here, or I'm totally lost or whatever. At uni, you can pull out. If it's an elective subject, you can go on and just pick another elective. If it's core, you're going to have to do it at some stage during your before graduation. Fee help, fantastic scheme. This government study loan, interest-free. It covers everything. So it covers your books and everything, in this case, your exams and any other costs associated. Again, we've had tax accountants tell people that there's a loan fee. There isn't. This is postgraduate full fee. That does not apply. And how do you pay it back? You pay it back through your wages. It comes out. Just to advise you, pay, the government will. The way it works is when you go to enrol for the first time, they'll ask you, there'll be a thing on this thing, how would you like to pay for it? And if you tick fee help, the government pays the uni on your behalf. Admission, normally to get into a master's degree, you need a bachelor's degree. But shock horror, nearly half of our students don't have a bachelor's degree, especially in the more technical IT field. They've either been poached out of uni or somehow gone and been successful. So you can get in on the basis of industry experience. If you've had, Holly, is it how many years? 2, 3 years?
Oh, Neil's better for that one.
Neil, can you, if you're listening, you're probably fallen asleep. Can you just type in, I think it's 2 years.
I'm here. I'm here, man.
Oh, you woke up. Well done. Neil's up at Coffs Harbour, by the way. Lucky. How many years for a grad cert, Neil? Industry?
2 years. I can get someone in.
Okay. And just the bribe? No, there's no bribe, of course. No, you'll just get you in. It's not a problem.
No, I'll help them with everything to get them started.
So no bachelor's degree, you wouldn't go straight into the master's. You go in via what's called a graduate certificate pathway, which is a fantastic option because it's 4 subjects. Maybe the master's is 12, it's only 4, but they're 4 subjects taken from your master's. And if you pass them, you do 2 things. You get credit for the 4 subjects and you then get to roll into your master's. So it's of its own a fully accredited postgraduate qualification. It articulates, there's an academic word for you, to the corresponding master's with full credit. And obviously, if you're doing 2 subjects at a time in the 3 sessions, you could graduate in only 8 months. So you can graduate with a grad cert and leave, maybe come back hopefully later on and finish your master's on, or you can just roll through, take your graduate certificate and then go on to your master's. But there's actually a financial benefit of doing that anyway. After you've got your grad cert, you're an alumni at Charles Sturt and you get 10% off your other fees. So you'd be better off actually to do that than go straight into the master's, even if you're qualified with your bachelor's for it. So anyway, it's, as I said, about half coming through. Lots of them getting the prize for the top performing students. So it doesn't appear they're struggling any worse than those with a bachelor degree. Credit, 3 ways to get credit. Firstly, industry certs. If you've got your the PMI, PMP cert, you would be up for a credit for that subject, MGI 514. We're not going to make you do it again. Trying to think of any other ones. Agile, there's Agile certification from Project Management Institute. We've got a subject on that. Obviously, if you've got the certification, you would be up for credit for that. And there's a whole range of other ones. COVID in the MBA computing, for instance, a risk management certification. Well worth a look at, by the way, and if you don't do this, the COVID one. The second way is previous academic studies. At postgraduate level, they has to be similar, 70 to 80% match. So if you've studied finance at part of another course at postgraduate level, you'll probably find it matches up pretty closely with the finance subject at CSU. And you just put a submission in and match off the different topics. And we're pretty good about it. We give you credit if we deserve it. If you deserve it. And the third way, which was only came in last year, we run free short courses, 4 to 5 weeks. The purpose of them is to give you a taste of what it's like to study at Charles Sturt. If you do three of them and pass the multi-choice exam at the end of them, you would be up for credit. Now, credit can be claimed at any time right up to graduation. So all sorts of people, I see them, oh, I'll start soon. I'm going to get a few certs under my belt and I'll get credit from when I'll start. And then 5 years later, they're still saying the same thing. And I'm thinking, I wonder if you're ever going to get to that. I think they'd be better off just to start and either do them as a subject or maybe do one subject at a time and study for the certification in parallel with them. Maximum credit, as with all unis, you can only get 50% on. It doesn't matter how many certs and whatnot you've got. 6 subjects only is the maximum. And if you want to find out about that, and I suggest you do, go up the IT Masters website, spend 5 minutes filling out the Am I Eligible form, and it will confirm A, that you can get in, and B, what level of credit you should be up for. Credit can be confirmed then before you actually start studying. We've got some potential MBAs here, so I thought we'd do something on return on investment. I've been asked over the years repeatedly, what's a uni? You know, what's it going to do? What's it going to give me? And I must admit I was at a loss to try to come up with something. And I finally found something which I think is pretty valid. This is the 2016 census data. And in your census, you were required to put down what your job is, what your level of qualification is, and how much money you're earning. And so we actually got this from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and it shows how much, for instance, an IT manager with no university qualifications is earning and how much one with a university qualification is earning on average right across the industry. And it breaks it down even further in CIOs and that type of stuff, but there's lots of different categories. So I've grouped them all together there, and IT project managers as well. So we'll reveal what the numbers look like. And here, I'm more than happy to send these if people want to have a look at them. Here is the average wage being earned by the different categories. Not surprisingly, IT managers are top of the heap in terms of how much they earned. Lots of stress in being an IT manager, and very closely followed by project managers. I've always said to people, if you never want to be out of a job and be really well paid, go off and be a project manager, but you better be able to cope with the stress as well. And it's reflected there in terms of how much they're paid. Okay, so that's the first column. And then we look at how much the ones without a uni qualification are getting. With one, got it wrong the wrong way, with a university. So an IT manager with uni, with no university is on an average 116, and one with is 129. Just must have been a surprise at the level of difference. And even in project managers, 115, 125. And if you end up with a 25-year career, you do the numbers and you're talking about across all categories an average of 270,000, which would seem to say that if you don't, especially if you don't already have one, doing a uni qual would be one of the best investments you'd ever make, because it never dates and you can continue to use it on your resume. I haven't broken down between a bachelor's and a master's degree. It's actually in the census data. There is a difference, but nothing like that difference. Typically a couple of $1,000s a year difference between postgraduate and undergraduate qualified people in those categories. So, and then the next question, being looking at it from a university, is why is the difference there? All right, I think I can demonstrate that they're definitely rigid age figures. I mean, this is cross-referenced by the Australian Tax Office. It certainly makes sure you put the right details in your census data. So why is there a difference in what they're earning? And three hypotheses I would come up with. Be a fascinating bit of research to do for a PhD student. We'd like to say from a university, it's all about what they learned. They just learnt wonderful things and they became very clever, and obviously they're going to earn more money. And to some extent, I did my MBA many years ago, that is true, because I'm still using some of the stuff I learned, and I certainly used a heap of it while I was working, and it particularly helped in terms of getting promotions for me. But that's not all. The other one, and I've definitely seen this at Microsoft, I've seen it at big corporates, I've seen it at Telstra, what I call the HR filter effect. And went from my first exec role in Telstra and said, well, why wasn't I getting an interview? I'm a superstar. I mean, it's obvious to me I should be an executive. And I finally tracked down, because I didn't have a degree, I did my MBA, I never got through my bachelor's, and they shortlisted me out of it. I never got to the interview. I'm never going to win the job because I don't have a degree on my resume. So that's what I call the HR filter effect. It's pretty unfair, but it's there, especially in large corporates. By the way, I then started my MBA and got my first exec role, what was it, 12 months later? I only finished 2 subjects by then, but I just put in progress on my application and it worked like a treat. I mean, they stopped and said, what are you studying and where are you at? And I told them how wonderful it was and how applicable it was to my work and the fact that I was doing it all in my own time. And so there's a little career tip for you. The in progress works when you're studying. Definitely use it. And the third one, I don't even know how you measure that, but maybe they're just the most motivated. This is not a walk in the park here. We're not talking about going off to a training course. This is 2 years of trying to juggle your social life, your work, and study. You've got to be pretty motivated, truthfully, to get through it. So maybe that's an impact there. They're self-selecting almost in terms of, and that's why their wages. Or maybe there's something else. Email me if you've got any other ideas. Okay, nearly finished. When can you start? Well, the next intake is not far away, 21st of February, and you start on the 26th of February. So you need to get your skates on if you're interested in that. By the way, that's our biggest intake of the year, and the most successful, they seem to get into their study mode pretty well through the year. So if you're interested in this year, I'd have a close look at it. But if you are, you really need to get a move on, get up there and at least start filling the online application form up on the CSU website. Because in university terms, that's a pretty short time frame, and we need to get your books and materials to you. So would appreciate it if you do as quickly as possible. But if that doesn't work for you, we have 5 other intakes during the year, spread around approximately 2 months. And if you keep in our database, we'll certainly advise you when they're coming up. Okay, I'll leave it there. If you've got any questions, we'll type them in. Hopefully you're a winner of the wine there. But we'll leave this open for another 15 minutes. So you can keep typing questions if you need, but otherwise you can email, or lo and behold, God help us, pick up a telephone. Unheard of. We get an average of 1 call an hour these days, would you believe? Used to be played out with them, but they're all emails these days. So probably emails the way people would like to do. And if you are interested in that intake particular, I suggest you email us anyway and just say, look, I'm interested in the next intake. Can you give us a hand? And what we can do is basically do a hookup with you and help you through the application process. Not that it's a hell of a lot better than it used to be. I could almost fill one out now. But yeah, make a time slot. Say, look, I'm available for 15 minutes here. We'll just do an online hookup and work through your application form with you. And we'll be able to advise you what you can submit later on. And that would then reserve your spot in the next intake. Okay, thanks for listening. Good luck with your studies, even if you don't end up with this, but I would love to see you at graduation in a couple of years' time. And it's my shout for some Charles Sturt University wine if you're there. Thanks very much.